You know that this life will end. You know that clinging creates suffering. You know you're not your thoughts. And yet, here you are, still searching, still afraid, still waiting for the moment when it all finally makes sense. Why is it that we know so much, but live so little? 800 years ago, a man sat alone in a cave. His name was Milarepa. He owned nothing. He ate nettles. His skin turned green from hunger. From that emptiness, something unexpected emerged. Not wisdom, songs. Not about what he learned, about what he forgot. Today, we won't study his poems. We'll let them move through us. We'll discover what happens when knowing becomes being, when insight becomes breath, when the gap between truth and life dissolves. This is not a lesson. This is an invitation to forget everything you never were. Listen. Milarepa looked at the world and saw something we all recognize but rarely admit. Although the suffering in the ocean of samsara is proclaimed and its renunciation stressed, few people are really convinced and renounce it with determination. Feel that. We know life brings suffering. We've read the books. We nod when teachers speak. And still, we cling. We scroll. We postpone. We live as if there's time to waste. Although knowing that life will always become death, few feel uncomfortable or think it will end. You know you will die. Everyone you love will die. The breath you're taking right now will one day be your last, and yet you live as if tomorrow is guaranteed. Although the happiness of liberation is explained, and the pains of samsara detailed, few can really enter the gate of Dharma. The gate stands open. The teachings are everywhere. Masters have left maps, and yet we stand outside, studying the gate, reading about the gate, talking about what it might be like to walk through, but never walking through. This is the tragedy Milarepa witnessed. Not ignorance, something more painful, the gap between knowing and being, between what we understand and how we live, between the peace we speak of and the anxiety we carry. You are not lacking information, you are lacking habituation. So Milarepa went to the caves, not to learn more, but to forget everything except what was real. And this is what he forgot. Since the grace of my Lord entered into my mind has never wandered in distraction. He forgot distraction, not by fighting it, by habituating so deeply to presence that distraction dissolved like mist. Accustomed to contemplating love and compassion, I have forgotten all difference between myself and others. He forgot separation, the story that you end at your skin, that there is a you and a them. When you rest in love long enough, the boundary becomes transparent. Accustomed to meditating on my guru as a halo over my head, I have forgotten all that governs by force and prestige. He forgot power, status, the hunger to be somebody. Because when you touch what is sacred, the world's hierarchies become meaningless. Accustomed to meditating on this life and the next as one, I have forgotten the fear of birth and death. He forgot time. He forgot the terror of ending, not because he became numb, but because he rested so deeply in what is eternal that birth and death were revealed as waves in the same ocean. Accustomed to contemplating the three bodies as inherent in me, I have forgotten to think of hope and fear. He forgot hope. He forgot fear. Not through effort, through habituation. He rested in completeness so often that there was nothing left to hope for, nothing left to fear. Accustomed to meditating on all visible phenomena as the Dharmakaya, I have forgotten all meditations made by the mind. And here is the paradox. Milarepa meditated so deeply that he forgot meditation itself. He habituated to reality until there was no longer a practice and a practitioner. Only this, only now. Accustomed for long to keeping my mind in the uncreated state of freedom, I have forgotten all conventional and artificial customs. He forgot the rules, the masks, the ways we've learned to perform being human. When you rest in freedom long enough, you forget how to be imprisoned. Accustomed as I am to meditating on the uncreated, the indestructible, and the abiding, I have forgotten all definitions of this or that particular goal. This is not poetry. This is a map. Milarepa is showing you something simple, something you've always known but keep forgetting. You don't transcend fear by understanding it. You transcend it by habituating to the peace that was never threatened. You don't overcome the ego by fighting it. You overcome it by returning again and again to what you are beneath it. The spiritual life is not a collection of peak experiences, not the high of a retreat or the clarity of a perfect meditation. It's what remains when you've sat with truth so many times that everything falls away, like water carving through stone, not by force, by return, by repetition, by habituation. So what are you habituating to? If you wake and immediately reach for your phone, you're habituating to distraction. If you replay yesterday's regrets or rehearse tomorrow's fears, you're habituating to time. If you see others through the lens of judgment, you're habituating to separation. You are always training your being. The question is, toward what? Milarepa habituated to caves, to silence, to emptiness. You don't need a cave. You need this breath, and this one, until return becomes rest, and rest becomes home. He forgot the difference between himself and others, not through philosophy, through sitting with love until the boundary dissolved. He forgot the fear of death, not through courage, through habituating to what never dies, to the silence beneath thought, to the awareness that was here before your name, that will be here after your story ends. This moment is already complete. Nothing is missing. Nothing needs to be added. This is the cave. This is the gate. This is what you've been searching for. You've just been habituating to everything except this. The goal is not to remember more. It's to forget everything except what you are, not the you that worries or plans or achieves. The you that was here before the story began, the uncreated, the indestructible, the abiding. Milarepa didn't become enlightened. He forgot everything that was covering the light that was always there. He sang 100,000 songs, but they were all the same song. Come home and forget everything you never were. You don't need a cave in Tibet. You don't need a monastery or a master or a perfect meditation cushion. You need to return again and again and again to this breath, to this silence, until one day you realize you've forgotten the separation. You've forgotten the fear. You've forgotten the need to become anything other than what you already are. If something in you recognized these words, not as new, but as ancient, then you already know. Remembrance grows when shared. Let this reach others who are ready to forget, who are ready to remember. Subscribe, not for content, but to walk this path together, to remind each other of what we keep forgetting. The peace you've been searching for is not somewhere else. It's not in the next book, the next teacher, the next insight. It's what's searching. You are already home. You just forgot. Now, remember,